You walk out of prison with one very clear idea in your mind. This time, you want to do things right. You want to work. You want a peaceful life. You want to prove that you can build something different. During the first days there is energy. You wake up early. You try to organize paperwork. You think about work. You speak with a few people. There is a sense of movement. But little by little, other things begin to appear. First comes the friction with reality. Finding a job is not as easy as it seemed. Many doors close before the conversation even begins. Conversations become uncomfortable when your past comes up. You start to notice looks. They are not always aggressive, but they are there, and that weight stays with you. Then something quieter begins to happen. Your mind starts working in a different way. For years you learned to survive, to react quickly, to distrust, to hide weakness. That mental mode protected you inside. But outside, the world follows different rules. Decisions are now more complex. You have to think about money, about relationships, about responsibilities, about the future, and many times, no one ever taught you how to navigate that. Another very human experience appears as well. Loneliness. Inside prison there is always someone around. Noise, movement, tension. But outside, many people discover something new. Silence. The nights can feel long. Your mind begins replaying things from the past. Mistakes, decisions, lost opportunities, and then an internal struggle begins. On one side there is a deep desire to live better, to work, to be respected, to build a family, to create something meaningful. But on the other side something appears that many people cannot see from the outside. Mental pressure. Making clear decisions is not always easy when your mind has spent years in survival mode. And at that point many people begin asking a quiet question. A question many men never say out loud. Not because they don't want to, but because they don't quite know how to explain it. The question is simple. Where do I really begin? Most reintegration programs focus on very important things: employment, housing, legal processes. All of that is necessary. But something is often missing. The internal reconstruction of mental and emotional clarity. Because when a person begins to think with calm and precision again, something shifts. They begin to make different decisions. They choose people around them more carefully. They begin to build stability step by step. And that is precisely the purpose of the ANCHORA approach. Not to impose solutions, but to help restore regulation, clarity, and discernment so a person can rebuild life with dignity. Let me tell you about a man I will call Jeremy. Jeremy left prison with a strong desire to do things right. For years he had imagined that moment. He wanted to work. He wanted a peaceful life. He wanted to prove he could become a different person. But after leaving prison something happened that many people experience. Every small problem felt enormous. A look in the street. A comment at home. An uncomfortable conversation. Everything began piling up in his mind. Little by little he started feeling trapped in thoughts like these. Maybe I will never change. Maybe people will always see me the same way. Maybe there is no way out. When Jeremy entered a conversation within the ANCHORA protocol, we did not start by giving advice. We started with something much simpler. I asked him a question. I will ask you the same question now. Imagine you are in Jeremy's situation. Something happens during your day that affects you. Your mind starts generating many thoughts. Now consider this question. What actually happened, and what part of what you are thinking is interpretation? Jeremy stayed silent for a few seconds. Then he said something interesting. What happened is that someone looked at me strangely. But what my mind started saying is that everyone thinks I'm a criminal. In that moment an important distinction appeared. The fact and the interpretation. Very often our minds mix those two things together. And when that happens, reality becomes much heavier than it actually is. When Jeremy began to see that difference, something changed. Not because the world suddenly became different, but because his mind started seeing situations more clearly. And when clarity appears, decisions begin to change. What you just experienced is a small glimpse of how the ANCHORA protocol works. The Social Reintegration and Restored Dignity Protocol is a 24/7 support tool you can carry with you, offering guidance and emotional regulation in moments of pressure or uncertainty, whether you are working with a counselor or navigating life between sessions. It is not about telling someone how to live. It is about helping people recover something many lose after years of pressure. The ability to look at life with precision. And when that precision returns, many decisions begin to reorganize themselves. Now imagine the same man. The man who left prison. The one who during the first weeks felt lost. The one who at night asked himself, where do I even begin? Now imagine that a few months pass. Not everything changes overnight. Real life doesn't work that way. But something begins to move inside him. First, something small appears, a little more calm. He no longer reacts instantly to everything. He starts noticing when his mind speeds up. And he pauses. That small space begins to change many things. He begins to think more clearly. Some people who once pulled him in certain directions no longer have the same influence. He starts choosing more carefully who he speaks with, who he spends time with, who he builds with. Something else begins to change as well. Decisions that once felt overwhelming become more manageable. Step by step, a job, a conversation, one good day, then another, not because someone tells him exactly what to do, but because his mind begins functioning again with calm and precision. And then something important appears. A feeling many people believed was lost. Self-respect, not the respect that comes from what others think, but the respect that appears when you know you are trying to live with dignity. That is the purpose of the ANCHORA protocol. Not to promise magical solutions. Not to tell people how to live, but to help restore something many people lose after years of pressure, mistakes, or difficult circumstances. Emotional regulation, mental clarity, discernment to build a stable life. Because when a person begins thinking clearly about who they want to become, many decisions begin to change. If you feel that recovering this kind of clarity could help you in your life, you can explore the ANCHORA protocol. The Social Reintegration and Restored Dignity Protocol is designed for people who want to think with more calm, decide with more precision, and build a more stable life. A different life does not begin with one big decision. It begins when a person starts seeing their path clearly again. Clarity does not change life in one day, but it changes the decisions that build a life. If you want to begin that process, you can access the ANCHORA protocol. Simply click the purchase button and begin your best life.